Hi, my name is Bev White and I'm a member of Party of Women. So I'm considering standing for election next year in the town and district elections. Now, to that end, I attended a meeting last night at Huntingdonshire District Council. They were holding a be a councillor meeting, an event. And it was open for the general public who are interested in becoming a councillor. So I went along. And I found the meeting really helpful and quite insightful. And it clarified something that somebody had said to me recently, that it's councillors that direct the council. And I think the meeting last night, they clearly explained, I think, how it happens. So what they're saying is, every 4 years, the majority of councillors are up for election and a new term. So once they're elected, then a new term starts. And at the beginning of that term, the councillors who have been represented by the electorate formulate a plan, which has been taken from their manifesto, from their party's manifesto, what have you. They formulate a plan for the area. And that plan, once it's developed, is passed on to officers, and it's up to the officers then to cost it, to implement it, make sure it meets legal requirements, and moral standards. And then throughout the next 4 years, councillors will revise it or come back to it and say, well, now you've done this, we'll want to do this, or maybe we'll move on and do this. And then it's up to the officers to say that can't happen. Yes, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll work towards that. And then they move through, and then in another 4 years, and the re-election, some councillors may lose their seats, and then the council builds on that. So this made me think about the county council elections, which had just happened earlier on this year in May 2025. So Cambridgeshire County Council, the majority of Cambridgeshire County councillors had been up for re-election or election. And 40 of those councillors lost, who'd been in the cabinet at the beginning of 2025, lost their seats. 20 regained their seats, and so 40 were new members. So either they hadn't been councillors before, or and then maybe they had, or they'd come from other councils. But there were 40 new members to the county council. So that's 2/3 of the councillors now are new to the council. And in those first couple of weeks, those councillors would have got together. So what you've got is those 20 old councillors would be bringing the new councillors on, advising them and helping them and supporting them, along with the officers of the council. They would all be working together in order to get the new councillors up to speed and get a plan developed. And now I think this would be a good time, if you were an activist councillor and you'd maybe been re-elected, I think this probably could be a good time for you to put in a motion that would be an easy win. You might not have cross-party support, which would help, but it is something that you could get an easy win in. And that's what I think was probably done this year in Cambridgeshire County Council. So, that's it. 2/3 of the councillors this year were new, and the county council now has a Lib Dem majority. I think of the 61 councillors, 31 belong to the Lib Dems. The rest is split between the other parties. And on the 15th of July, the council had a full council meeting. So presumably most of the motions that were brought up at that full council meeting would be related to the plan that the councillors were hoping to implement over the next 4 years. And so what I want to look at is agenda item 13E, which was introduced by Councillor Alison Whelan. Now, Alison Whelan is a trans-identified male. So he's a male who identifies as female. I don't know if he's got GRC, I don't really care. To me, it doesn't make any difference. But he had made, his proposal for the motion was that the recent Supreme Court ruling for Women Scotland and the Scottish ministers in clarifying that the word sex refers to man, woman, that man, woman and sex refers to the biological terms. He said it would significantly impact the legal recognition of trans and non-binary individuals, restricting their rights and exacerbating discrimination. But it doesn't, because it clarified the law. So some places have gone beyond the law and they've given people rights that they should never have had. And so obviously Mr. Whelan, Councillor Whelan, would be upset about that, because it means it's putting him back where he belongs with the men, not encroaching on the women's. So at the beginning of the motion, they said they'd got legal advice, that the council had sought legal advice. I still think the motion is a bit like a dog's dinner, though. I don't think it's very clear. I don't know what they're hoping to achieve with it. It's not very clear. The terms, so we don't know what they mean by TQ+. Don't know what they mean by trans or non-binary. So there's nothing there. And I don't think the council have this clarified either. And, you know, the law of the land don't really have it clarified. It's not clearly clarified what anybody means by trans. So, but this has been, so I was given a heads up that an FOI had gone in asking for the cost of this legal advice, and the council had paid just under £4,000, which is surprising given, like, the motion is just a mishmash of anything and everything. So I'm not quite sure. Women, girls, including trans women, men, must be protected from gender-based violence with appropriate support structures in place. Well, women and men have different, you know, the violence against women is on the basis of their sex. Men may be attacked on the basis of their sex or because they've been deceptive. I don't know. But you can't just clump a man in with women because he's taken on a trans identity, which is what this motion seems to be doing. After Mr. Whelan had spoke on this motion, another councillor, another male who's got a trans identification called Councillor Malinowski, he spoke and said that, you know, nobody challenges him for going into single-sex spaces, which is then difficult as well because, you know, part of the motion is saying that they want to ensure all county council buildings and facilities are open to all without discrimination, and that single-sex spaces, where required, remain available. But what are they how are they categorising a single-sex space? I mean, are they putting men into these single-sex spaces if they identify as women, even though, you know, according to the law and reality, they're not? Because Mr. Malinowski said that he uses women's toilets. So the council paid £4,000 for this advice. So I think maybe they were poorly advised. I don't know. But it also makes me think, so as I said, the Lib Dems have got the majority on the council, and there were 30 present at the full council meeting, and all 30 voted in favour of this motion. And the Lib Dems were supported by all the Green Party members, all the Labour Party members and the independent member. The only people who voted against it were the Conservatives and Reform. So there isn't cross-party consensus on this motion. It's only the only people who went for it are the parties who are in favour of self-identification. But self-identification isn't, it's not really clear if self-identification is something that the council are proposing. Like I said, it's not really clear what it is that they're after. And so I do wonder, what is it? There were a flurry of these trans-positive motions over the summer. And I think, are they an easy win? If a council is just coming into being, many members are new, many may not be fully au fait with an issue. And in fact, I would say some of the Lib Dem councillors who've been councillors for a long time, or Lib Dem party members for a long time, aren't au fait with what the Lib Dem policies mean. So I just wonder, if you're unaware and you're trying to get to grips with something that's going on, are you going to be led by an activist councillor who's sort of like selling you a sob story and misinforming you, and in order to vote in favour? But then I also think as well, so at the meeting from Huntingdon District Council, they said, councillors come in and they build on the work that's been done before. So the work that was done before at Cambridgeshire County Council is stuff on the equality policies and stuff on this LGBTQ+, whatever that means, led to the council being taken to an employment tribunal. And the council admitted to harassing an employee on the basis of her sex and her sexuality. Apparently a dog had been misgendered. And the council threw the full force of HR against her in order to do what? I don't know. And they caved on the doorstep of the court. And I wonder is this really what the council are wanting to build on? So they were misadvised previously, and it ended up in a discrimination court, and taxpayers paying out over £100,000 on that court case. And I wonder, what is it that the council are currently being advised, and are taxpayers again going to potentially end up with another court case because we've got an activist councillor? Have we also got activist officers at Cambridgeshire County Council? Are they seeking advice from activist lawyers? And, these aren't unreasonable questions to ask, I don't think. And I would think maybe, so my Liberal Democrat county councillor is Councillor Seif. And I wonder if Councillor Seif would like to meet up with me for a coffee one day, and maybe he can explain what he understands about this motion and how he thinks it's going to help women, and how the council intend to protect single-sex spaces for women. Because I would be really interested in knowing how this motion has been sold to councillors as being beneficial for all constituents of Cambridgeshire County Council. And in fact, if Mr. Seif doesn't want to explain to me, maybe one of the other Liberal Democrats would like to get in touch. Or one of the other, maybe one of the Greens or the Labours or the Independent. If you're close to St Neots, get in touch. Let me know what it is that you hope to achieve through voting in favour of this motion. Because I'm missing something. I'm clearly missing something. But I would be happy to understand what it is that you voted for, or what you think you voted for. Because you must know your Liberal Democrat policies and your views on this. You must be au fait with that. And you're taking it into the council and pushing it there. So what is it that you're voting for? You must be able to explain it. And because as an interested constituent, because if you're working in the same way as HDC, your plans have got to be cost-effective, legal and moral. Or do Cambridgeshire County Council not work in the same way? I don't know. Anyway, let me know, and let me know where my thinking is a bit skewed. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Bye.